Okay, welcome everybody to our third episode of the It's Financemate podcast. Today's topic is I'm looking for a mate in finance. And some of you might have heard that reference from a song that went viral a few months or years ago. I don't even quite remember. We're not exactly 6'5". We're a bit shorter. I think I'm 6 foot, maybe 6'1". Alex the same, August the same. Karim's a bit shorter. We don't have trust funds yet, maybe. We have our holding companies, that's for sure. We all have worked in finance before, and we still are. So that's, I guess, the commonality. And yeah, today is really about our vision of Financemate, why we're doing it, where we want to take it, and why it could be good for you. And yeah, I'm going to say we're just going to go through all of that, all of our opinions, going to talk a bit about financial planning in general again. And maybe we could start with what's the problem we're actually solving for. Karim, why don't you enlighten us?
Yeah, for sure. I think finance in Germany, if you feel stuck in any way about your financial situation, either because getting the knowledge is difficult or you find the topic intimidating, it is really hard to actually find support from people that actually want to help you and don't just want to sell you stuff. So I think for us, that's really the core of it. We really do want to support people to make sense of their financial situation because we know that having stress in your financial situation impacts everything in your life and can really have a negative impact on your stress levels. Over the years, we've sort of all been kind of doing finance mate or being finance mates to our friends and family very informally. Like I do remember on many occasions, I was super passionate about the topic of ESOP or employee stock options, for example. I think over the years, I've maybe received at least 15 different stock option documents from my friends, like saying, "What the hell is vesting? Like, please help me." Please help me understand that. And yeah, I just find a lot of joy and pleasure in helping people because I have some knowledge about it, at least more than the average person. So I think just helping people to really feel comfortable with their finances and feel secure about the financial decisions that they make is sort of really the problem that we're trying to solve.
Nice, nice. And Alex, you have a more human side to this, or a few stories around that, I would say.
I have a similar background in that. I think as Kareem, not so much ESOP. I don't think ESOP is my main topic. I think I've asked Kareem about ESOP myself, but yeah, in the past, I've motivated people to start investing and learn about it. Also, the company that I worked in with Kareem, quite a few people that are motivated to learn a bit about ETFs and just start. Because what a lot of people in Germany do is, and also expats actually, is keep cash. If you don't know what are you gonna do, and if you don't invest the time to figure things out, and the market is intimidating, a lot of people just keep cash and don't invest it. And over a long time frame, like it does make a difference if you had it invested or not. So when I got a chance and I felt like somebody's open for discussion, I would always push them a little and try to be very pragmatic about it, meaning being like, hey, go open a depot, right? Instead of trying to tell them everything about it and have a in-depth discussion and making it philosophical, making it practical, right? And getting people to actually do it, started with it, and then figure out it's not so difficult. It's actually relatively easy, and you just need to invest a little bit of time and look into it, and then I think most people can just figure it out.
I'm honestly very, very proud of you, Alex, for doing that because I met one of our common friends recently, and he was one of the people that you talked about starting ETF investing. What was it now? Maybe 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And he told me that his proudest financial decision to date was actually listening to your advice and doing it because obviously these things take time. At the beginning, the numbers look really small and seems very sort of irrelevant, like to your finances. But 8, 9 years in, compound interest with a savings plan, adding money to it every month. it does grow into a sizable amount, or can grow into a sizable amount. And yeah, for him, it's really giving him a lot of security, aside from, like, he's a full-time employee and everything, and has like a decent surplus and all of that. But like, just having that sort of build in the background, like, is now giving him a lot more also ideas. I was thinking, okay, maybe I buy a house, I can use this money to pay for a deposit, or maybe I'll just keep it for my retirement. And it just opens up your options, right? Like, as soon as you do get started. So yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
And that's like sort of like one aspect of financial planning, like the ETF investing, right? Or ESOP, for those who don't know, employee stock ownership programs is usually something that startups that are a bit more established have, so that you can participate in their success if they work. If not, then you don't get anything. But that's the sort of risk you take when you go into a startup, I would say.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's one aspect. Obviously, the whole like holistic picture of financial planning is a bit more complex than that. It can be as easy as this, but usually it is more complex than that, especially if you are an international in Germany. That's sort of the next avenue I want to go into. But yeah, there's just a lot of extra layers of confusion. Can have Augusto jump in there in a second. But yeah, language, taxes, pension systems, public pensions, private pensions, company pensions, like all this cross-border stuff. And yeah, why, like, or at least from our view, is like why these robo advisors or individual product sales industry that exists in Germany. We spoke about that in our first episode. Doesn't really cut it. So maybe Augusto, you can share your experiences from first moving to Germany or a German-speaking country.
Yeah. So my personal approach to investing has always been very DIY. I think to my detriment in many cases, and to great success in others. But like in general, it's not a strategy that I would recommend. It's very stressful, and it's very time consuming. And one of the things that you learn is that you need to know a lot about the things that professionals know, and these people do this as a full-time job. If you also have a full-time job, it's kind of, you're biting a lot more than you can chew sometimes. And one of the things that always surprises me is all the things that exist that I didn't leverage. All the products that exist, all the rules that exist in Germany. So you were mentioning in the beginning that we don't have a trust fund, but we all have holding companies. I'm the only one who doesn't, because I never knew that was an option. So a lot of my investments have been severely punished by taxes, and it's not. I mean, in the end, it's like, people think of holding company, you're kind of evading taxes. In the end, it's an optimization, and it's kind of making sure that you pay taxes when you're actually using the money and not just when you're moving it around. And that's only just one example of the things that I wish I knew 6-7 years ago. And as an international, you land in this new place, you bring all your expectations and all the things that you know from your country, and know it know it or not, or be conscious about it or not, you're applying those frameworks, those expectations to a new place that is completely different. And if you listen to our first episode, I come from a very weird place financially. I come from a very weird country financially speaking. So yeah, I guess I would summarize it as, I wish I knew a lot more. I wish I knew everything I know now 7 years ago. I wish I had a 5'11" Financemate with a holding company. um,
Yeah, but you touched something very important here. I mean, I think we all started DIY, all four of us.
Yeah.
And that's obviously a very good thing, especially in the last few years. DIY has become more easy too, with all the content that's out there and all the resources that you have access to these days, with the apps that you can download and just easily like have easy user interfaces. Like, investing was way more complicated 15 years ago with like using big banks and all of that stuff. So that definitely has become easier.
Mhm.
However, with all that content out there, it's also become more difficult to choose what's right for you.
Mhm.
And everyone has different lives. Everyone has different goals, different backgrounds, different subconscious thinking patterns, like all of this.
Mhm.
Yeah, that definitely, like that let's say flood of information has caused more confusion now again, we would say. And that's also why we that's part of why we also founded Financemate. We think that, and then I'm going to talk a bit more about like a few principles that we have like for our vision of being a mate in finance. But yeah, that's definitely one of them, is to have like this guided by a human approach where, you know, you have all this content that's available, or all these different sources of information, but you have a neutral opinion, you have a lens that you can filter it through. Same with your goals and with your aspirations. But maybe let's start, before we go too deep into that. I know that Alex has a lot to say about this. We wrote down like 4 principles before we entered the show. It's smart tools and zero friction, guided by the human, which I just touched. Ongoing and not one-off. It's a very important one. And radical transparency. But I want to really hit it off with smart tools and zero friction, calculators, etc. Maybe, Kareem, that's very much your
Hello.
avenue. Why don't you talk a bit about that topic, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, well, firstly, maybe a bit about my personal motivation. So ever since school, not even like university, but since school, I love building small tools to help people make complex things simple. I'm really good at Excel. I really love it. Now I can code, so it's not even Excel anymore. It's way more advanced than that. But generally, I just like love building little tools to
They're not that
simplify.
little, honestly.
Ew,
But
not anymore. But yeah, so that's just like my personal motivation. I find it really exhilarating. But then financial decisions do have a mathematical component to it, obviously. The way that we see it, most of the tools that are available on the market, and there's becoming more of them actually, and that's a really good trend because I think for people to have access to tools without having to do all the financial mathematics behind it, but still be able to evaluate decisions is really, really important. What we try to do in Financemate, and this is one of our core beliefs, is Financemate is supposed to contain your financial data and your personal data, not just historical. We also don't really believe in necessarily connecting your bank account and whatever. We see it actually as quite cumbersome. We think that, you know, people can enter stuff by themselves, and maybe that's actually even better. Like you can go into whatever level of specificity that you want, and then we use that information as well as information that we know about your goals and your future plans to already personalize the tools and financial calculators that we built to match your situation. So that's like a core part of our calculator building at Financemate. So really feeding in that holistic picture, which Daniel mentioned, into the calculator. So the calculator is personal for you. And I think that's compared to other tools that are just on the web that are not like personalized to you, that don't actually have already some of your data. It can be generic sometimes. So it's sometimes a bit too vague to really make a decision for yourself. What we actually try to do, so as Financemate, we talk to people about their finances every single day. So every big question that we hear on calls coming directly from clients. So could be, I mean, just the other day we built one. I have an existing mortgage. Is it better for me to pay off my mortgage, or should I rather take that extra money and invest it in the stock market? That's a financial question. How do you evaluate that? We hear it once on a call, we build a calculator, so then the next client that has that question, we can actually go through it in a much more guided way that also takes less time for the finance mate to calculate these things. We can focus more on the outcome and explaining the emotional side of that decision and the maybe more qualitative factors that may influence that decision. So that's where we want to spend our time with our clients, not on, you know, building models and doing all these sophisticated calculations. We try to abstract that away and make it very personal to you. And we want to spend our time really talking to you about your goals, where you want to go, like how this decision can actually impact your life and the different things in your life. As Daniel said, they're not small anymore. So we have really quite a lot of calculators and some are quite sophisticated, but it's really a core principle to us to keep it as simple as can be and as personalized as can be.
yeah. And I want to step in here and then hand over to Alex in a bit. But that's exactly what we mean by smart tools and zero friction, is that you have a question and we have that mathematical side, but that emotional side is probably even more important. You need the mathematical component because we're talking about finances, sure, but the emotional side is just as important. And I think Alex has a lot to say about that one.
Yeah. I mean, the calculators that we have, they're pretty amazing for answering questions. And but it's true, like the emotional side, especially to me, the call is where I want to focus my attention, and having calculators makes that a lot easier because then we can calculate it, we can look at it, what it's better or not. For example, like buying versus renting. It's a very emotional topic. People have that idea of owning a house, but financially it might not make sense, right? It can depend on a lot of things. But with a high interest rate, for example, at the moment, it might not turn out financially the way that people would have it in their head, right? So showing that with the calculator is very nice. And how we do it at Financemate is doing the call, the client, uses the calculator and pretty much uses their own dashboard, because the idea is that they understand it, that they do their own input, they manipulate the sliders. So they play around with it themselves and they learn how to do it. And we're just giving the context and guiding them while they do it. So the idea is then after the call, they do have that knowledge of using our tools and being able to reevaluate the decision, right? Play around with it a little bit more after the session. So it's more of like a guiding the user for self-service, I think. And that's the idea is empowering, right? Like the idea of Financemate is not, hey, we did the calculation for you and that's it. But we want to empower our clients to have the knowledge and the understanding and the tools to evaluate those decisions themselves.
Yeah, 100%. And it comes back to that having or being that lens. As Karim said, people have questions every day. They're big financial questions, big life questions, first and foremost. If you start getting into investing, or even more so probably if you're investing a lot and your social media algorithms know that too, then you get so many different avenues of what you should be doing, buying, renting, doing that, doing this, right? And this is where the way we've built the dashboard up at this point, and I'm really proud of all of us for having achieved the dashboard that we have right now, is let's look at it. Every single question that you have, you can bring, we can say, let's look at it. And from a holistic financial planning perspective, we can say, hey, is this really for you, or is this something that the social media person has said to, like, I don't know, sell you a course or whatever, right? So that's definitely one. And then also at the end, what Alex was trying to say, like this whole idea and like the third principle is that we really want to be financial planning also for ourselves, like the stuff that we wanted to always have. Augusto touched on that, and our lives are also quite international. We need ongoing and not one-off updates to everything that we're doing. And sort of like the principle number 3, whatever you want to call it, like this ongoing, like it needs to be dynamic. We live in a dynamic world these days, everyone, especially if you're an international. What happens to your finances when you move? What happens to your finances when you have
a
bigger
baby.
life changes?
Yeah.
We have a baby, want another one, I don't know. There's August is laughing because he recently got a daughter, and maybe August,
In Zurich, of all places.
in Zurich of all places where you can
What were the keto costs again in Zurich? More than
Yeah,
probably the
yeah,
average salary in Germany, I assume, no?
exactly. Yeah, without
Yeah.
Subventionen, so you
Yeah.
can get Subventionen, which covers a chunk if you don't make a lot of money. But without it, like, the list price is about like 3 and something grand
Month.
for a
Francs.
full site. No, if you do like half time and stuff, it can make it cheaper.
Oh, wow.
And that's only
Crazy.
keto. So another chunk of that is rent, and
Yeah, diapers, food, I don't know. Yeah.
that's it's pretty.
Yes,
In this story, a lot of rainy day funds.
speaking about personal lives in that sense, the last sort of pillar that we always think of is radical transparency. So thanks, Augusto, for sharing the Kita stories.
Mhm.
But yeah, like this, especially for Germany, is a very important one to all 4 of us. There is, in this existing industry of financial advisors, insurance brokers, and all of that, a lot of different fees, assumptions, and things that you don't really know. The contracts are super complex.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's something that we want to change and we want to shine some light on. And yeah, maybe Alex, you can take that away also.
Maybe just sorry before you jump in, Alex. Like I do have to say, like we do receive from clients sometimes some of the products they get into, and I have to say, like sometimes it really makes us very angry, right? Because you can see what happened basically, like just some of the fee structures, like the sort of product bundling that goes on. It's really aggressively deceptive. And it just makes us really, really angry, honestly, because like usually these are like nice people that, you know, maybe early in their life, you know, trusted like someone because they didn't know better or they didn't know anyone else or whatever. And it's sad, right? And it can be traumatic. I mean, for some people, it can really impact their whole financial future. And yeah, I think that's also why I feel so passionate about it. I mean, Alex has a lot of stories about this, but maybe you want to share something about that.
Yeah. Generally speaking, of course, not everybody like that does a job as an insurance broker and does a terrible job. There are a lot of people that do a really good job, but the products that you often get are then not ideal. And it's not just, you know, people selling to you privately. It's also, I think for us, it's oftentimes the company pension because, I mean, for Germans, they do have pension insurance often because that's what's being in their direction and that's what they know. Investing is for maybe the, you know, I think maybe our age and younger now becomes really a thing, but for everybody, you know, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, it's usually some kind of pension. For my parents, it was life insurance that was sold to them.
Same, yeah.
Like my dad had like 4 or 5 life insurances and they had
Oh
some
my
sales
God.
tactics. Yeah, to sell it to them. And you know, like your return you would get is like like I calculated it for him after fees. It was 1.2%,
Amazing.
and he thought he was making 4%. Anyways, so I think for us in general, we have two main types of clients. We have the clients that we already mentioned that just has cash in their bank account because they're like, oh, you know, I'm moving around. I don't really know what to do. I don't trust anything. I don't just afraid to make mistakes and keeps the money close to them. And then that just means usually keeping the money on the bank account. And the other part is then trying to figure out investments. And for them, it's more a question in the end, like they're usually relatively financially literate, but what tends to happen is that they accumulate a lot of products, also from different countries, pensions from, you know, I don't know, maybe they have Canadian pension, maybe a, you know, company pensions, private pensions, investments. So it becomes very difficult in the end to understand what their portfolio looks like. And usually it still means that there are no um, um, uh, goals attached to it. You know, it's not like, oh, this money is from my retirement, maybe vaguely, but it's not oftentimes clear, right? So what we do then is we structure a bit better. We first start with like, hey, that's your financial situation right now. Let's talk about it. What are your goals? And then what are the products that you currently have relate to it? And are the products, you know, that you have decent? Can you put more money into them or should you maybe restructure? So I think we have two yeah, types of clients. One is more like, I don't have anything. Let's see what we can do, what the best choices are. And the other one is a bit more looking at what they currently have and restructuring. And overall, I think that's very, very different, but both are super interesting cases in general.
Yeah. And I think you've also touched like the process that we do a little bit already. We have touched it a couple times, and maybe we just go into that next. Also, from a perspective of, hey, if you want to do it yourself for reasons like you're already into finances, you've been doing it alone for some time. Maybe this is something you can get away for yourself as well, where this is the process that we use, and you can use the same one if you want for yourself. But yeah, then we can speak about accountability and the fact that Augusto wish he had a Financemate 6 years ago and in the future. But yeah, sort of the quote unquote playbook is, maybe I'll say the first one. We all say what comes next and see if we're aligned here. The first one is we map. We do a snapshot. What we call a snapshot is we look at your income, your expenses, your assets, and your liabilities and your debts. And I think that's exactly what Kareem said earlier, is we don't like pull in bank accounts or whatever. I think that's not really the point of it. So we don't want to do budgeting. Really, we don't want to track every little coffee that you spend somewhere with your partner. It's more about having this manual snapshot once of your current situation to be able to like look forward. The thing we look at here, we look here at the most probably is your monthly surplus, and if you have any like I don't know, more like short-term debts, that's sort of the main things that we look at. And yeah, take it from there. What's next?
I mean, next is needs, right? We look at your core financial needs. So, there's some sort of really fundamental stuff that you just need to have covered. You need to make sure that if you have that you can manage the debt. I think that also is sort of just a very important thing because it can spiral really out of control if you don't have that in check. Less of a problem in Germany, more in other countries like the US, but like still can be a significant problem for some people. We look at a risk. What sort of risks are you really exposed to based on your life situation? We look at, do you have enough savings in what we call a rainy day fund, right? Like in case, life happens, right? You never know. So you need to also have some money aside. And then we look at retirement. I mean, that's sort of then the main next topic. Maybe Alex wants to jump into that.
Yeah, maybe to recap, so we have the snapshot, then we look at your needs, and as Grim said, that is usually what we start with, and that's where the calculator that we talked about earlier comes in, comparing, for example, if you should service your debt, do Sonder payments and start paying it off sooner, or if it makes more sense to maybe invest the money. And of course, that's only relevant for people that have that. Otherwise, like that's moving on to see if you have enough, as Grim said, money on their bank account, and if they feel comfortable with the money that they have as their savings. And that, for example, I think serves two purposes for different clients. Like there are some clients that are very conservative, and the client that usually that keeps a lot of money on their bank account, for them is more like if you have 100,000 euros on your bank account, making that decision of, hey, I'm comfortable with 25K on my bank account. That's all I actually need at that point. That makes then the remaining money available to put it towards another goal, right? So that those are the kind of like decisions where like the process that we follow to make people aware of, okay, now that you have some money that you can invest, for example, for retirement, and once that goal is full, and then there's maybe some other goal that you want to follow, start your own business in 4 years from now, for example, and then we can see how we use your surplus and your money that was previously just sitting in your bank account towards that goal, for example. So the next step is then that we look at the other goals and that you figure out what are those, what do you actually want to do, like financially, and what do you need money for, and then how can we invest your money so that it fits that goal.
Totally. And then I think that the whole part after that is like, once the goals are set, is really executing them, making a strategy or putting a strategy around that goal and be there for them executing it and not doing it alone. Augusto, I think we can speak about that accountability part of managing your finances.
Yeah, I mean, it's always helpful to, I think, especially if you're doing everything yourself, you realize that there are moments in your life where your skills match the requirements of the market and your personal goals. So if you're, I don't know, if you're like making significant surplus and you're riding the longest upward trend in the history of stock markets, a set of personal skills match that situation, and then things change, and perhaps your extreme risk appetite can play against you. And the same goes backward in for different people. So I feel like for doing it yourself, for DIY investing, you have that liability, you have that risk, and having someone kind of bounce with you, guide you. In my case, I was lucky to have a lot of friends like e.g. Kareem, for example, to kind of help me keep course and make the right decisions. But it's always helpful.
Tell you not to put all your money in crypto.
For example, if you're about to have a child in the world's most expensive city, that's a great it's a great risk profile to not have. In general, I feel like when we talk about this concept of accountability, some people feel like, but maybe it's not necessary, like, because I can be disciplined. And it's true. Like, it's not just about discipline. It's also about like giving you that counterweight of perhaps skills that you don't have for, or having a second look, and having like a person that is outside of your reality and your emotional space to give you an unbiased look and help you replan and reallocate things. I think that's super crucial.
Maybe to just add maybe to add on that, like, I mean, I totally agree. And like, I think, yeah, I mean, we know a bit more about finance than the average person. That's true. But like, even for us, I mean, I've made so many like emotional financial decisions in my life, like, especially when it comes to trading, because when it's your money and you're looking at your money and you open the account and it's like X one day, and then it's like a little bit less the next day, and then the next day it's a little bit less, and it's a little bit less, and you're like, what the hell? What's
That's what I
happening?
do. Yeah, it
Um,
warps your perception.
it does. It
You can
does. And
have the best investing strategy. I have a very precise investment thesis. I have sold the bottom multiple times because it just warps your perception. You
yeah,
see the
yeah.
thing coming down, and it's like, it's my money.
Totally. And it's not even only about like stock market investing. I mean, that's just where you get like a lot of like live feedback also to
Yeah.
it. But even like on things like real estate, right? Like
Mhm.
you might be like wanting to buy real estate, and then some like new regulation comes, or some news comes out about like area, or I don't know,
Mhm.
whatever. Like
Yeah.
something can happen and it can make you scared. It can make you like fear like what might happen, and all that. And that's totally normal, right? Like, because it's a
Yes.
big decision for you. You put a lot at risk. You spend a lot of effort and thought and decision making power to actually come to terms with the idea of doing it. So like any sort of external thing that disrupts that idea is very
Mhm.
disruptive to you emotionally. So I do think having that like external third party to look at it from a neutral perspective. I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, some people can do it, like can
Yeah.
really detach,
Yeah.
but like these people are usually professional traders, maybe sociopathic or psychopathic even. I've like worked with a few of them. I've worked with a few of them when I was working in banking, and like it's actually insane like to just watch these people because they're so detached
Yeah.
from the results of what they're doing. They're just like, yeah, this is my strategy, this is the thing. Like I'm executing it. Oh, I've lost like 100K today. Okay, like next one, you know?
Exactly.
Sure, I mean, if you're that type of person, maybe, but most people aren't, and it's really emotional. It's difficult.
There's an entire, you mentioned that there's an entire category on the, investing, like high risk investing subculture on the internet. It's called loss porn, when people post their images of their
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
account going, and you see, I've seen horrible, I would not recover from like my account going from 1 million to K in three
yeah,
days.
yeah,
And how do you even do that? Like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know any instrument that can lose so much value so quickly.
yeah. I
I
mean,
do.
even just the swings, right? Like I've also
Yeah.
witnessed many friends like over the years,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to crypto, but like also with stocks and more normal investments, like
Yeah.
be super pumped about something like when the market is hot, when like everyone is talking about
Yeah.
investing,
Yeah.
like are telling everybody, wow, like this thing is amazing and like you need to invest and blah blah blah
Coin
blah
is the
blah.
future
Yeah,
of finance.
exactly.
It's not.
And
This is not
yeah.
financial advice. It's not.
Guys, I'm gonna catch it. I'm gonna catch you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
One last one.
And then suddenly, like the market starts to go down, and then these people, the same people, start to become quiet. You know, they don't talk
Yeah.
about investing anymore.
Yeah.
And then, like maybe one day you just ask, "Oh, so how's it going?" And then it's like also a lot of shame then around it. It's like, fucking hell, I lost a lot of money, and yeah, it's common. It's very common.
Shame. I'm gonna get
Go
back
ahead.
to you, Daniel, but like, this is one thing that I've seen a lot with people when it comes to investing. Shame. And
Yeah,
shame is the most useless feeling in the world. It paralyzes you, gives you nothing. I have so many friends who came to me. We're talking about like, hey, how about investing? And they're like, no, you know what? I don't touch that topic because I should have started 10 years ago. And like, I look at my bank account and it's like, blah blah blah, and my friends, blah blah blah. It's like, the best time to start investing is 10 years ago, the second best is now. Like that's, and feeling shameful for it gives you nothing. Yeah, I don't know. It's a
Yes, guys,
sad.
for everyone listening, I think you could hear that we are quite passionate about this topic. I don't want to get
Yeah,
too
a little bit.
too wrapped
I
up
think.
into these discussions. Maybe we can have a whole episode if you guys are interested in like on this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe Alex, you can catch us a little bit or give your closing thoughts on it.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of emotions attached to it, right? And making rational decisions is difficult. There's the educational part, but even if you're educated, a lot of the times, also with the topic of ETFs that we talked about earlier, the friends, that I was talking about investing with them and maybe explaining them some fundamental concept, and they probably, read up upon it and educated themselves. But like, it doesn't mean you can actually follow that advice and that best practices when the market drops, for example, right? And also even investing, right? If you don't feel comfortable, you have a lot of money, you have 100K on your bank account. For most people, it would be then a good decision to really figure out what's their their money that they want to keep as a rainy day fund, and then invest the rest of the money quite fast, right? But people are scared. They're too scared because they're afraid of mistakes, and then they invest it slowly, maybe 100 euros a month or something, to just dip their toe in the water and see how it goes. But then maybe 2 years later, they still haven't invested all their money, so they left them a lot of a lot of return on the table in those 2 years. That's actually quite significant, and that's where somebody like us can actually support there, and be a mate, be the friend that Augusto actually was hoping for. Uh, and the other part that I wanted to mention is like the other example is a lot of our clients have company stock options. They have RSUs, and they usually, like, at the moment, I feel like everybody, all the people that we get, their stocks or their companies are doing amazing, and they made a lot of money with it. Or rather, they haven't, because a lot of them don't exercise their options. They keep them around. They see it on paper. And they're like, yeah, it's grown 50 times whatever I initially got from my company. So I don't think I want to sell it now. And then 50% of the investments is then the company stock. It's like one company. There is a lot of risk attached to that, and people don't necessarily see it because they have seen it since they joined the company. It's been going up and up and up, and you have the fear of missing out. And that's something where we can be a bit more rational. Usually the question that I would ask them then is like, all right, if you have those 50K that you have in stock options lying around, would you right now just invest that in your company? Is that it? Would you put all your money in those options, right? To just rationalize it? Because right now they have it and they have the fear of losing it. But most people don't answer, yeah, of course, like I would just put it back in the company. They're more like, probably not. And that usually means, good, then it's time to diversify, it's an
What it
emotional
comes
decision.
down to is that human layer where like numbers kind of stop, right? And all of that entails like handling the fear, handling procrastination, over optimism, skepticism. There's a lot of biases involved. There's other friends you're talking to involved that influence you if you want it or not. Your family situation will affect you for sure. Like, what have your parents done, or other people in your family?
We also, like, I mean, especially on news and social media, like, we really, there's a lot of these very glorified stories of like that person who did this one crazy investment and is now super rich and whatever. Like, that is super rare. It's really, really rare. But we definitely over-index on these stories as a society because we find them exciting. We think we're all special. Like, we think that could be us, right? And the truth is, like, it could be you, but like the chances are very low. So it's way more prudent to actually have like a proper long-term plan. You can still take bets. We encourage people to take bets, but like to do it in a smart way that doesn't put everything else at risk.
Yeah, totally. And that human layer is what we also see, like, not going away. We wish to always have somebody human to talk to, like in the age of AI. I mean, that can be a whole different podcast for sure. But yeah, if you're our age or younger or even older, you're as an international, you're more techy than the average German, I would say, anyways. So you probably have heard about all these AI investing, whatever things. Our current very strong opinion is that it's probably not a good thing. Maybe in 20 years or 10 years or whatever, but that emotional side is just something that human to human is much better in our opinion, and that's what we will always believe. And what will always be the core part of the process and of our offering.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Maybe just my personal experience over the years, as someone who works in fintech, likes these topics a lot. I've used so many apps, tools, investment tools, like different financial apps, budgeting, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, they're all interesting. You can learn a lot from them. But like, I think even for me, what was always lacking is the holistic picture, number one. So each of these apps, mostly like the VC funded companies also, because VCs will always tell you, focus on the one thing, like execute, like make a product that like makes money and all of that sort of stuff, which is fine, but they're usually only one part of your financial picture. And if you go too much into that area, like you can miss other opportunities or actually hinder other opportunities that are better, maybe better suited for you. So that's one thing. And then the second thing, over the years, I sort of, lost a little bit of this, oh, I actually want to do everything myself personally. Because, like we've been saying, like it's, you're not always the best person to manage your own things. I mean, like there's a reason why doctors don't like diagnose themselves, right? It's emotional. Again, it's the same topic. You need that like outside perspective to give you perspective, actually. So yeah, I think that's really the core of Financemate is the holistic picture. It's the outside perspective, and it's doing it in a way that doesn't ignore technology. Like we use a lot of technology as well to simplify, let's say, heavy lifting of the financial economics, but the human side is super important to us, and that's really where we are different, I think, also.
I have quite a few stories. I think the financial decisions are also not always like, hey, my money is being invested. Should I take it out? The market's dropping. People get emotional about it. But it's often also decisions like, should I buy this house or not? And what it comes down to, in my experience, is not even the financial sometimes. For example, one case that we had was a client that really wanted to buy a house, and of course we looked at it, if it's she can afford it financially, how much, and so on. But like a few months later, she actually came back with like, hey, I have this house offer, like I already have told the agents, or the agent kind of told us we have to move super fast and so on. And she seemed like she wasn't really into it so much, and she was a bit scared. And turned out, like after talking to her for a little bit, that actually her boyfriend really liked the house. She didn't like it so much. I mean, she wanted to have one in general, but it was not like her dream house. But her boyfriend seemed to like it a lot. But what then happened was that, and they wanted to in theory buy together, but what happened was that the agent put a lot of pressure on them for buying the house super fast and committing to it, and they had to find or get a financing option like in the next few days. And then that only left one bank that said they could do it fast. So of course there was a shitty interest rate that they got offered, first of all. Second of all, her boyfriend was not even able to be part of that loan because he didn't have residency in Germany. So she would have to buy the entire house and get the mortgage just on her name. The house was then planned to be in both of the names, but the mortgage just in her name. And I was like, I mean, I was questioning all of that, of course. It turned out in the end, like they didn't buy the house. They even recommended them an English-speaking lawyer because like they had those fees now that the broker wanted to push on them, and the lawyer was then able to save her, I think, 5K or 6K or something, because they turned down the house in the end, and the mortgage broker was trying to push for their fee, because they had said that they would buy the house, and they put it on hold for them. And those kind of decisions, I think, are part of it, right? It's not just buying and selling at the right time, but it's also a lot about like, yeah, emotional topics, buying a house and how you structure it and what are the risks attached to it. And I think if you're in that situation, it's difficult to really evaluate that. So it's good to have somebody that you trust and it sits down with you and is questioning you.
And even simpler than that. I mean, like also I'm moved to Germany, like I'm international. I didn't speak German very well when I moved here. And I would say like my mate in finance has always been Alex. Because when I get weird letters from whoever, because in Germany that's just the thing. You get some weird letters with some weird numbers and you're like, are you paying me money or do I owe you something? Or what is this? And yeah, just having that mate in finance that speaks German, knows what the hell they're talking about, and can like help you actually to what to do, I think is already a lot of benefit on its own. So I think that's something maybe we underestimate because it is
Mm.
quite a basic thing that we help our clients with from our perspective. But I think it's, I remember how much anxiety I would get when I would receive a letter. And I mean, I can read German now, so I'm a little bit better, but like it's still
Yeah.
like gives me anxiety to be honest.
The property tax calculation from the Finanzamt for me is the most anxiety-inducing thing ever. It's like
Yeah.
2 pages. Every number is like 6 digits and like weird names and weird whatever. And at the very end is like you owe us 12 euros.
Exactly.
I see like millions and like how much do I what? I don't have that much. My house is not even worth like a third of that. What? 12 euros. All right. Great.
Guys, I want to sort of close this episode, but I
Yeah.
think we've covered a lot for people listening. Still, if you made it until here, kudos to you. But let us know, and we can go in all of these topics in more detail. I think what you've realized if you've come this far that we also have a lot of personal conviction, personal interest, and passion about this topic, and have to navigate that in the podcast in future episodes for sure. But yeah, so maybe for me to summarize this today's session and give everyone who's still listening a few more nuggets is we really wanted to build with Financemate and want to build a financial planning process, place, tool, whatever you want to call it, that we wanted for ourselves, that we want for our friends and family, that will make us happier around our finances and move us forward. And if you want to do like a sort of similar process that we are doing with our clients, is then you should go have a manual look at your finances first, figure out what monthly surplus you have, figure out if you have any debts that maybe you should get covered sooner. Sit down, reflect. What are your actual goals? What are your needs, especially around that rainy day fund? What sort of money would you like to have in terms of, if something goes bad, if you lose a job, whatever, like how much money do you need to survive for like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, however you feel comfortable. Then look at your retirement because it is a key part. Like, will my money last when I'm not working anymore? Is a big question, right? And then look at the different options you have and really do them. We've had also a lot of people who said they bought a financial planning um, reports or like they bought a financial plan, let's say, for a lot of money, but then they never really executed it because they were stuck, right? So don't be the person who gets stuck. Just do it. Or if you want, reach out to us. We'll have a free of charge discovery call, have a chat, see if you like us, if we like you, if this can work. If not, then that's also completely fine. And with that, I want to wrap up the episode. Thanks, guys. We're four of us today again. Last week I was out, but I'm looking forward to the next episode. See you then. Bye bye.